G'day, how you going? What do you know? We'll strike a light. G'day, and how you going? Just say g'day, and you'll be right.
Welcome to the Midweek End Times News and Trends briefing as we share major events and what is happening around the world as it relates to Bible prophecy. Today's date is Wednesday, January 25th, 2017. So far, we're off to an interesting couple days within the administration, the new administration under President Trump. And there's great stuff that's happening, and there's also going to be some very interesting components when it really comes down to Bible prophecy, especially what happens in Israel. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But the first thing that I want to draw your attention to out of the Times of Israel had this report: after 8 years of enormous pressure, Netanyahu cheers Trump's change of approach. So Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday hailed U.S. President Donald Trump for ushering a change approach in the White House after 8 years of enormous pressure from former President Barack Obama. Speaking to a meeting of his party after his first phone call with Mr. Trump, Netanyahu said that the U.S. president, like him, believes that the Iran deal is bad and that the peace with the Palestinians would only be achieved through direct talks. He also reiterated that the call was very warm and confirmed the two would meet together in Washington early next month. So after 8 years, which I withstood enormous pressure on the various issues, primarily Iran and the settlements, I certainly welcome the change approach, said Mr. Netanyahu. President Trump believes that the peace would only be achieved through direct negotiations. And Netanyahu says, does that sound familiar? Because this is exactly what he was trying to do and has been trying to accomplish. He also spoke at length about the threat of Iran. He also believes the nuclear deal with Iran is a bad deal, and that certainly must ring a bell. We are facing great and significant opportunities for the security and the future of the State of Israel, but they demand responsibility and discretion so that we don't squander either the time or the opportunity, he says. Now is not the time for knee-jerk reactions, not the time for dictates, and not the time for surprises. It's time for responsible, wise diplomacy with friends diplomacy that will strengthen and coordinate trust between Israel and the new administration in Washington, said the Prime Minister. Therefore, for the benefit of the State of Israel and settlements, I suggest putting aside any other considerations and let me lead. So this is going to be a great relationship now with the U.S. President Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, who are and will be true friends and allies. And while most of the countries around the world are putting their distance against Israel, something that we see prophetically happening, and at some point I wouldn't be surprised when the U.S. does that. We've already seen it happen under Obama, but we do know that it will be the nation of Israel standing alone. But again, they're never alone because God is with them. But there is a word in Genesis 12 that talks, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And this is one of the reasons why the United States of America has been such a great nation, because they have had Israel's back. And every country that does have Israel's back and does support them, you see that they are a blessed country. Moving on to another situation, just hours before Obama left office, again, this is not only another betrayal and backstab against Israel, but it's also your help funding more terrorists. He gave $221 million to the Palestinians. So Barack Obama spent his last months of his presidency seemingly doing everything he could to make Donald Trump's first days in office difficult. And this came out of the Associated Press news. But Obama's last move was kept secret until now. It's only after he left office that the country found that Obama had done. He has given over $221 million to the Palestinians. The members of Congress, the Republican side, had been blocking the $221 million donation, so Obama waited until the time was just right. Friday morning, on the day of Trump's inauguration, the administration quietly made the transfer and informed Congress hours before Trump was sworn in. The Obama administration spent another $6 million on foreign affairs, and the bulk of which was climate change, $4 million. And the remainder was given to United Nations organizations. Obama administration wanted money to go to the Palestinian Authority to help with political and security reforms, as well as to help prepare for the future Palestinian state. There will be a backlash from the Trump administration on this, which any conservative and any president would, which has vowed to be a strong supporter of Israel. Again, sending hundreds of millions of dollars to fund a Palestinian state is not something that Trump is fond of, nor would any Christian or conservative president would be anyway. But you continue to see the destruction, the deplorable way that Obama has handled the American affairs. It was never America first. It was never about the Constitution. It was about globalism. It was about a socialistic agenda, and his Muslim background really plays into key parts with all the things that went on. On to another issue. And this one made a lot of headlines all over the world on how Trump abandons the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was Obama's signature trade deal, which is just a disastrous deal when it came down to it for all the countries involved, but also especially the United States. And so this was a major stepping stone for bringing back jobs and for having, and hopefully they will negotiate a better trade deal amongst these other countries in the Pacific Rim. On going back to dealing with Israel, and there was a campaign promise to move the embassy into Jerusalem. And according to Ynet News, the U.S. beginning stages of talks of Jerusalem embassy move. And so this report came on Sunday that it's in the early stages of trying to fulfill this particular pledge to move the U.S. embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And this is an action, like we said, this is going to see Bible prophecy being fulfilled. Most likely there will be a war that will be developed because of this action, because of the Arabs and some of the other people around the world do not want to see the U.S. embassy in Jerusalem. When it comes down to it, they have no say-so. It's really a relationship issue between the U.S. and Israel, not the Palestinians or the Arabs or any other country. And it shouldn't matter within other countries what the U.S. does in putting the embassy in Jerusalem. It is their land, their city, and every country has a right to have its own embassy wherever they want within a country, and specifically within the capital, which Jerusalem is the capital. But this will be a push, an agenda that in a relationship issue would be a great thing, but on a worldwide issue, it will be a disaster because of the countries around the world. The Palestinians do not want to see this happen, and there will be threats, there will be potential war that would break out because of this particular action. So time will really tell how this all plays out, but this is probably one of those biggest situations that Trump will have to face as president, is dealing with this particular issue. Of course, there'll be many other ones. We also saw in the Ynet News how Abbas and Jordan King agreed to fight against U.S. embassy relocation in Israel. This is one of those key things where Jerusalem will be that cup of trembling, that cup of drunkenness, for the world. And this is one of those key factors that we're going to see playing out in that. It's another interesting situation that's developed. As we mentioned, in many of President Trump's administration and cabinet, he's got a lot of Christians. There was a report that came out of the newly elected or appointed, I should say, CIA director, Pompeo, and he has a great Christian background from what this report talked about out of the departed media info, where he goes back to an address within a church that he talked about and how Jesus is the only solution for our world. So, Pompeo is a very well-respected figure in national security community. He was an Army veteran, and he's a staunch pro-life advocate. 2 years ago, again, bringing up this article, Pompeo gave a church speech where he said Muslims who claim that Islam's the only way need to be dealt with. This threat to America is from people who deeply believe that Islam's the way and the light and the only answer. Pompeo told churchgoers, according to Press TV, these folks believe that religiously driven to wipe them, the Christians, off the face of the earth, and they abhor Christians. And he said that a minority of Muslims are really of that have that agenda. Pompeo passionately urged believers to pray and stand and fight and to make sure that we know that Jesus Christ is our Savior and is truly the only solution for our world. And it's exciting to see someone in high administration like that, even with others within the administration that have a strong Christian faith or would have a professing belief and know who Jesus is. And so it'd be interesting how, like we say over and over, how it plays out. Time will tell. Again, we're just talking in real time right now. The future, again, there's so many components to what can happen and what's going to go on. One of the things that we do see and will happen is more persecution. According to the Christianity Today, this is dealing with what's going on in France. Christian-phobic attack in France have risen 38% in 2016. So there was a huge rise in Muslims during that time where they were terrorizing Christians and attacking churches across France. And Europe, again, is on edge of a massive and horrible persecution of Christians. The Islamic extremist attacks on Christians in France intensified in 2016, like we said, experiencing 38% in faith-related incidents. There was another report that brought up some other statistics on that, how in 2015 there was 273 attacks, and then in 2016 there was 376 major incidents that occurred, and most of them happened within the month of December. Many of the attacks took place in churches and other places of worship. One church had its walls vandalized with blasphemous graffiti. The persecution, as we mentioned, will definitely increase in these last days. Satan knows his time is short, and he's going to do whatever he can to stop, to disrupt, to destroy believers, to increase the persecution worldwide. And then finally, on an apostasy issue, this report came out of the Charisma News, but many other news agencies are carrying the same information about how the Church of England considers turning a blind eye to gay clergy. So the Church of England is coming under scrutiny for considering a system that would allow clergy members to practice homosexuality while they served in the church. Currently, gay members of the clergy who have been ordained have been asked to be celibate, change their jobs, or seek promotion to become a bishop, according to the Daily Mail reports. However, the House of Bishops will discuss proposals on Tuesday to see if they can avoid asking clergy members about their private lives and sexual orientation. The Church's Parliamentary of Lay Leaders, also known as SNOD, had discussed the issue of homosexuality in July, and growing rifts within the church had forced them to reevaluate their policy toward clergy members. So this is going to be another issue, as we've mentioned probably the last several years in doing these updates, this issue of homosexuality in the church and within the pastors or the leadership within and it has to be dealt with. But again, the Bible is very clear on the subject. As a church, you cannot compromise on the truth. You cannot compromise on moral standards that God has clearly laid out for us. And you cannot compromise this, especially within leadership within the church. And this is going to create a downfall within a church as well. So it's going to be another battle ahead in dealing with this issue that is just worldly, demonic. Again, these people, they may love Jesus, but their lifestyle is wrong and inappropriate, and they're not walking in holiness when they're lusting after the flesh. And any heterosexual could be doing the same thing too. Lusting, adultery, pornography, all those sort of things, as the Bible clearly lays out, as wrong, immoral, sinful behavior that God will not tolerate. God will not be mocked. So it's interesting times that we're living in. We say that on a regular basis, but it's so true. So we need to keep our eyes on Jesus, stay in the Word, be as effective for the Lord as possible, walking in the Spirit, walking in holiness, and that you continue to share the light, the love of Christ and His grace and mercy among all that we come in contact with. In Jesus' name. Until next time, God bless.